Seth, getting back and thinking about this in terms of the awesomes, it's almost like the same question. You have no constraints. You can do whatever you want. Now, you grew up watching television, kind of imbuing yourself with forms and formats. All of a sudden, you're free. You're out of this prison. How do you decide what rules you can break and which ones you need to follow?
Well, my education as far as being a writer or someone who creates from television happened at SNL, which is there aren't a lot of rules at SNL either, but there are some. And no one comes to you beforehand. When you write a sketch, you can just sort of write it, and then it gets tested in a very it's a meritocracy is what I'm trying to say. But so ultimately, it's nice to internally have your own rules. I think when people watch television, they want a story, they want a B story. There are parts of making television that you realize over the years that you've been drawn to, and it's silly to think, oh my God, there's no rules now. I'm going to completely deconstruct what's been happening in television forever. Because while I think television can always evolve, I think that every generation before us has done something that's worth remembering.
Mm-hmm. So there is a legacy to build on, even for a new brand.
Absolutely. And again, people are going to Hulu to also watch television that's been made in the network model. So you're not, it's not a destination for people who hate the way television's being made. It's a destination for people who like the way television's being made and are open to seeing it be made in new ways.
That's a great point.
Thank you. That's one for me.
That's very good. I hadn't actually thought of put all that together.
No.
Mike, you've had a big year. You've had a very big year. You've announced, in fact, you've probably gotten as much attention in the rest of the media as any of the other digital video services that are out there. Give us a rundown on what's going on right now in Hulu, what you're bringing onto the screen. What are the new things that we've got to look forward to?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. We've been pretty busy. We really set out to do three big things. One was to improve our product, make it more personalized, and so we're rolling that out as we speak. This fourth quarter, the entire product from the TV. From our living room devices to mobile to the website will all be much more personalized, not just from a content standpoint, but from an advertising standpoint as we roll out our programmatic initiative. We're going to be launching a lot of new programming this fall. We just last week launched the fall season with all the broadcasters. We've got a couple of new originals that we're launching this fall, and we also are excited about our Epics package, which launches this week. Mm-hmm. We'll have current window films from MGM, Lionsgate, and Paramount. And so, new original next week is Casual with Jason Reitman producing that. We're really excited about that one, and we have several additional shows in production.
So, this is yet another stupid question. You mentioned fall season. Mm-hmm. Why does fall season still matter? And again, no constraints, no calendar. Why do we think in terms of a fall season? I know there's a reason.
It's a great question. We think of it more in terms of when this great content starts to come back to Hulu. So we have last night's TV from Fox, ABC, NBC, CW, and Univision, and those shows premiere. They started to premiere last week, so that's why we love it. Why they choose to premiere it there, I think, is very historical. Kids are back to school, summer's over, and it's the beginning of that fall season where the knife fight begins for ratings every night, right? Mm-hmm. But we're fortunate in that we have everything for the most part, and that's really the core and foundation of Hulu today. And what we've really been spending time on is how do we make it better? So that's a fantastic place to start, but acquiring prior seasons of hits, like we did with our FX and AMC and Turner deals. In fact, just yesterday we announced the exclusive acquisition of Last Man on Earth, which we're excited about. It's been a great show last season and done well at Hulu. So rounding out the portfolio from current seasons, prior seasons, great originals like The Awesomes, in films is really our content strategy.
You're also working, I'm leading up to another really stupid question, but it's one that I know a lot of people are wondering about. You're doing work with some of the creators of some major MCNs. What the hell is an MCN? You've never really asked that question, have you? How many of you actually know why an MCN is called an MCN? That's not a good percentage.
And let me say, those 4 people were real cocky. You can't see their faces. The 4 people who knew MCMs were really like,
They had changed.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
So when we talk about MCN talent, what are we actually talking about, and why are you working with?
Well, you
them?
know, we're working with several, and you know, I guess I'm not sure I know what the MCN actually stands for. I'll go on.
It stands for multi-channel network, but that doesn't help me at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we targeted creators, principally on YouTube, that had at least 10 million followers or subscribers, and we're really working with them to bring unique content to Hulu around that personality, around the kinds of shows they're doing, but unique and maybe slightly more professional, if you will. So the first one we're doing is with Freddie Wong and the Rocket Jump team, and that'll premiere in December. And it's a comedic look at the behind the scenes of making their show Video Game High School. And then we're doing several additional deals that we haven't announced just yet, but those will start to come in the first quarter. But the idea for us is, how do we tap into that audience that's huge? These people have incredible fan bases, and then how do we make unique content for those fans and bring them to Hulu? And that's what we're trying to do.
You've been a writer for years. You've been a performer for years. I know you look at YouTube all the time. You look at the Freddie Wongs, the other MCNs all the time. How do you think of them as a professional? Do you think of this as, hey, this is a farm team that I can maybe learn from and exploit? Or do you see it as a completely different medium that's developing?
Well, I think it can serve as both. I think it's a different medium, and I think people who want to consume comedy that way are going to always want to until, you know, I don't know if it will be something you outgrow or not. I'm not an expert in that. I will say it's interesting for finding talent how it's changed over the course of 10 years for a show like SNL or a show like ours that's always looking for new comedic voices. It's completely democratized the process, in that you used to have to take a trip to Chicago and go to Second City and watch people on stage. Mm-hmm. And now, just the very fact that people can sort of film themselves inexpensively, put themselves on YouTube, and if they, you know, receive enough attention, it'll eventually be drawn to the attention of people like myself, who work at sort of the older model.
And need a constant source of that talent, presumably, for your writer's room and various other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we'll see that more in the years to come, how people transition from one to the other. I don't think it's happened en masse yet, but at some point I think it will.
I want to ask you about advertising. You've been very novel and original about integrating marketing, integrating products into the Awesomes. You've got the Jack Link Sasquatch character. I wanted to ask, you know, first and foremost, how you think of it as a creative person. Do you kind of go into this saying, got to find room for these guys, or is it more of a, ooh, is it a prompt to great ideas?
Well, look, I think when you're creating content, and I want to be known as a content creator, that's very important to me.
I'm not sure if that's laughter of agreement or...
No, I felt very pretentious as I said I create content. When I create content, well, you know, it's interesting. I think now you realize the importance of advertising. Obviously, this keeps us all on the air. And you realize the difficulty when audiences, you know, I've always been struck when audiences say to you, you know, my least favorite part of television is the commercials, is a lot like saying my least favorite part of the supermarket is the checkout. You know, they don't understand that that's a very essential part of it. Like, otherwise you're just stealing vegetables. So... With that said, I think we're in a unique era where even the advertisers understand that they have to be creative as well. So, you know, with Jack's Links, you know, they wanted to work with us, and they didn't come in. They understood by, like, turning over this idea of having, you know, sort of us animating the commercials within the ad blocks, that they had to meet us halfway. And so they wanted to be creative with it as well. And because of that, because once you start working with the ad side of a company that wants to be creative and wants to sort of figure out how to get through to audiences, and also I feel like there is a savviness with audiences now that if you can be a little winking with your advertising, I think they appreciate that more than just being, you know, they want to know, like you were saying, hey, we know that, you know, ideally you wouldn't be seeing this, but hey, we're going to try to be funny and creative and different about it. And I think they then see that the advertiser has a sense of humor. You know, it's funny for us because, you know, we did Jack's Links was something we did in season 1, and when we didn't do it in season 2, I had as many people on Twitter telling me they missed it then I had people who said, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're selling out in season 1. You know, so I think this idea of you can't sort of meet an advertiser halfway is sort of fallen off.